Welcome back. We are back with another review, but today we got something a little different. We got a guru car review, and from none other than Andy Elliott. I think this is going to be a pretty fun one because Andy's style is obviously very aggressive. I'm the internet's chillest closer, so I think I'll have some pretty contradicting beliefs as to what he teaches here. I think before I get into this, the most important sales process is the one that aligns with you the most. So if you are naturally not an aggressive, pushy motherfucker, it's going to be really hard to try to implement a lot of the stuff that you see guys like Andy talk about. Nonetheless, Andy is great at what he does, but it's because it fits him. So what we're going to dive into today is, does aggression, high level aggression, really work? And is it something that you should be imitating? Is it something that you should be taking away from him, being very pushy and aggressive? So in this video that we're about to look at here, this lady that we're looking at, it looks like she does a role play and then he does a role play after, and what they're selling is fitness, which is very relevant because it's very B2C, high ticket, it's like $5 grand. But before we get into the call review here, if you're wondering who I am, who is this handsome young man with dreads and tattoos, what does he know about sales, and why should I even watch him review a call of Andy Elliott? My name is Nick. I have closed close to $4 million in this high ticket sales space over the last 3 years. I've done so in a very detached, laid back way where the prospect wants to buy based on their reasons that I'm able to uncover. I've helped countless others do the same, like Chris, who I helped go from 3K a month to 30K a month. Or we have Julian here, who went from 1 to 2K a month to 20K a month. Or we have Alex here hitting 10K a month as a setter. These are all people that I have worked with one-on-one, found the gaps in their processes, and helped speed up the process of getting them to these kinds of results. So if you're a high ticket closer, if you're tired of trying to Frankenstein and piece together all these different YouTube videos, just hit the link below, see if you qualify to work with me one-on-one. And without further ado, let's dive in.
So, hey, number one, I really appreciate it. Obviously, you have a great coaching program. I want to get in great shape, but I need to talk to my husband. By the way, I'm the female. I mean, because I can't whisper in someone's ear and say this. So I'm going to be a person that she's onboarding. Does that make sense? I'm going to say, hey, I appreciate it. I'm going to talk to my husband.
How do you hope that conversation goes?
I don't know. I haven't had it yet, but I hope he supports me.
Okay. But how do you hope it goes? You told me you want to do this. What do you think he's going to have to hear in order to arrive at the same yes that you did?
I don't know. That's why I want to talk to him.
So I'm curious the feedback that he ends up giving her, right? Because off the rip, she's assuming that it's a yes from the prospect just because they gave a spouse objection. She didn't clarify that it's a yes from the prospect yet. And her tone is also coming off very defensive, right? First thing we want to do is make sure that they are okay with the decision before we talk about their spouse. So we'll listen to the rest of this role play, and I'm curious the advice Andy gives, if he gives advice on that part.
Okay. Do you feel like I've given you enough information on this conversation?
Yeah, you've been wonderful. You've been great.
Do you feel like you can articulate all of the things you told me on this call that you're struggling with? The fact that you don't want to get naked in front of them. That's why you guys aren't having sex. You can't keep up with your kids. You're not comfortable when you wake up in the morning. You're tired. You're waking up every night. You don't sleep well. You're not happy.
Yeah, no, everything you said.
First of all, this woman is jacked. She's yoked. Besides the point, right there, this is why people think that sales reps are manipulative, right? Because the prospect gives an objection. You say, yes, I do think that maybe well, she said, I don't know, which is why I want to talk to them if they'll arrive to the same yes. And then the instinct is to now throw back everything that you found out about them in discovery, all the vulnerable parts of them that they exposed in discovery. There's a right and wrong way to do it. Yes, you still want to bring back the real reasons that they had, but she just started fucking firing them off as if she was holding them in the back pocket, waiting to be able to use it at times like now. All right, so that's another thing that it's a little contradicting to Andy's style there, but I'm curious how he gives feedback to that part.
You said is correct. Unfortunately, when I spend money, I have to talk to my husband, though. I understand everything that you're telling me is exactly how I feel, because that's why we want to do this, but I have to talk to my husband.
Okay. I totally understand that. Did your husband know we were having this conversation today?
No.
Okay. Do you guys have a rule in your marriage that there's like a certain spending amount you have to talk to him about, or is it just any amount of money?
We don't have any rules,
Okay.
but we just talk to each other. We respect each other like that.
Perfect. When you go to Target and you go shopping and you buy a bunch of stuff and you spend a couple $100s, do you have to okay that with him?
If it's like food and stuff for the family, no.
Okay. What if clothes, nails, hair? I see you have your nails done, your hair done,
No,
eyelashes.
I've been doing that.
So again, these questions are very leading and manipulative. People will feel that. They will sense that off of you. Now, obviously, shout out to this woman. She's at an event like this to learn, and she went and took the mic. So like, that takes a lot of courage to do. The reason I'm saying this is because, again, Andy's the trainer here. So I'm really curious to see how he gives her feedback on a lot of the very manipulative things that she's doing here and how it's coming across.
I've been doing that for years. He knows. This is something that's different than a normal, ordinary, everyday expense.
Okay, let me ask you this. If you were to shift the amount of money that you're putting towards your lashes, your spray tan, your clothes, towards this, would you have to okay that with him, or would that be your
That was actually pretty solid. That was solid.
your choice to make that decision?
I really appreciate everything you're saying, but I need to talk to him.
Okay.
Okay, everybody say friction. No, don't clap because she didn't close me. Don't take it easier on her because she's a woman. Some of you guys are like, she tried her best. Sorry, did she close me or not? No. Okay, what could she have said?
He's not wrong. There are no participation trophies in sales. And that is something that I fucking like about him, is he's very direct, upfront, honest. Don't clap because she did not close me. That I fucking agree with. No participation trophies.
Let me ask you a question. Does your husband know that you've been struggling with this?
Dude.
Don't attack the money. She went after money. What we should go after is pain.
Well,
That's what I tried to do.
But you didn't.
But I asked you if your husband knew that you were struggling with those things, and that's why you wouldn't get undressed in front of him and have sex with him.
Yeah, and I said, no, and I admitted that, yeah, those are things that I'm struggling with, but I hadn't talked to him about spending the money.
Okay.
So the question is.
So I disagree here. I think as soon as you get an objection like that, spouse objection, an objection that is deflecting responsibility to someone who's not there, you first need to make sure that they feel good about this, right? So, okay, besides your husband, how do you feel about everything we covered? And does this feel like the path of getting you to XYZ weight so that you can feel XYZ about yourself? Okay, what actually makes you feel like it does though? Because like, you're the most important part before we go to him. We need her certainty on the program, on moving forward, because what if you ask that and then she starts to give objections? Like, well, I'm not too sure if this part would work or if this part would work. Your husband doesn't fucking matter. Again, when you say something like you went for money, but you want to go for pain, it's like, that sounds very manipulative, right? That sounds very, let me take what you said and twist it. Again, right? There's a time and place for that, but definitely not as soon as you get the objection. And this is also assuming that you guys don't have this same very aggressive personality type, which if you're attracted to my shit, you probably don't, right? Have this very aggressive, abrasive personality type. Andy can get away with a lot of shit that y'all can't because he's a bald dude he'd just be screaming, right? He'd be screaming about shit. And it works for him because that's his personality. A lot of you niggas aren't like that though. Let's keep going.
Does your husband know that you're struggling with this? Yes or no? Yes? If he knew that you were struggling with this and that there was a way to solve it so you would be happy, do you think that he would support it so that you wouldn't struggle with this anymore? Yes or no? Okay, let's reverse it. If your husband was struggling with this and he was talking to someone on the phone right now that could solve this problem so he wouldn't struggle with this anymore, and you knew about it, would you support him to fix it so he wouldn't struggle with it anymore? Yes.
See, that's a tough question to ask because you could fuck around and put yourself in a box if you ask a question like that in most offers that you guys are selling, right? Where people are a little smarter than that. Yeah, I mean, I'd still want him to talk to me about it though. Then what? You're fucked, right? Or what if she said, like, again, assuming you're talking to a woman and you ask her that. Or what if she says, well, yeah, he makes the financial decisions of the house, so like, I wouldn't really mind if he went and did it. If you get any of those two answers, then you're fucked. So that question I wouldn't ask at all because you have to remember when we're talking about sales, we're dealing with human behavior. Humans are fucking confusing. Humans are complicated. And you need to make your questions be as easy as possible for you to get the specific answer that you're looking for and leave very little wiggle room for an answer that could fuck you. Let's keep going.
So it doesn't sound like to me that you need to talk to your husband. It sounds like to me, are you willing to commit to this? Because your husband's willing to support you with whatever you'll commit to. And if you're really telling me and struggling with this, and I can...
Well, we don't really know if she's committed to it though. That's the problem, right? Because she never told us she's committed. You ask, does your husband know that you've been dealing with these things? Okay, sure, he may know that, but that doesn't mean that I'm committed to your program, and I never told you I was committed to your program, right? So it's like sometimes, you know, you may go take this objection handling feedback that you get from like a big guru like him that doesn't align with your personality. You go try to use it, and then now they're writing shit Reddit reviews about you and saying that the fucking sales guy tried to pressure me. Now you're getting calls taken off your calendar. Simple stuff. Let's keep going.
This and I can solve this right now, then let's do it. That's the close. We don't need to go into their financial budget. We don't need to ask them how they make decisions in all their other life. We need to go to the love point. Okay? Does your husband know? Does he know that you're struggling with this? Does he know how much it bothers you? Has it created problems with you and him on any of these areas because this hasn't been solved yet? How long has this been going on? How many fights has it caused? If your husband knew, if he knew that you could solve this problem right now, would he support you to do it? Not would he let you.
Also, not to beat a dead horse, but the reason it's so important to start with their certainty, like I said, is a lot of people give spouse objections just to buy time for themselves. They will literally do that knowing that they're not going to talk to their spouse at all. They just want some time to think about it themselves. So you need to be able to expose that shit. Besides talking to him, how do you feel? Is there any reason that you would feel less than 100%? Yeah, there's this thing and this thing. Okay, boom, then you handle that. Because otherwise you're just going to have this fabricated ass conversation. What happens times like now is kind of how Andy was role playing as the prospect, is they'll keep saying, yeah, you're right, but I just need to talk to him. Yeah, I completely agree with everything you're saying, but I just need to talk to him. Then you're frustrated, right?
Let you spend the money. Would he support you to do it? And she'll say, I think so. No, I think you know the answer. He would support you as you promise, as long as you promise that you would commit it and do it. Do you agree? Okay, now notice, I'm not going to ask for the business right then. I'm going to say, let's reverse it. Now I'm going to put her in his shoes. I'm going to double close it. I am. Because I seal my shit tight. I don't ask, I don't ask for the close until I know I'm going to get a yes. I won't ask for it unless I'm 100% sure that they're going to say exactly what I want. Some of you ask too soon, and some of you talk past the close. So I'm going to double close. I'm going to say, all right, now I want you to do me a favor. Let's reverse this. Let's put yourself in his shoes. He's overweight. He's felt unattractive.
Yeah, I'm really telling y'all, I would highly suggest not to do the put yourself in his shoes part. That could really, really fuck you.
He doesn't want to get naked around you. The sex life's going to shit. That's affected y'all's relationship. It's you know what it's done, okay? So I don't need to go back into it. He finds someone. He's finally hit the pain line, and he says, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And he's ready to make a shift for you and the children and himself, okay? And he's talking to someone on the phone, and they say it's going to cost them an investment of this much. You couldn't do it on your own, so I'm going to help you do it. I'm going to give you the blueprint, and we're going to solve this problem. And he's like, well, I got to talk to my baby girl.
Again, one of two things can happen here. Either A, she's like, oh yeah, well, I'm glad he decided to talk to me and didn't go spending all that money without saying anything. Or, well, yeah, he's the leader of the household. You know, he manages the finances. Like, I wouldn't really have a problem with that. But for me, like, I have to talk to him because he's the one who handles all the money. You're going to cook yourself.
What would you say? Would you support him to solve that? If you know that he was struggling with those things, but he could finally fix it? Of course you would. And he's going to do the same thing with you. So with that being said, let's do this. And the only regret you'll have is that you didn't do this 6 months sooner.
All right, guys, this is not Wolf of Wall Street, right? Like, look, Andy does well. Andy does well, right? And he's good at what he does. This is not Wolf of Wall Street, guys. You were like that. That's a closing line right there. It's a closing line. Let's do this right now, and the only regret you're gonna have is that you didn't do it 6 months ago. This is classic sales pressure. This is classic resistance building right here. And all the connection that you built with this person, the entire call, assuming you built authority with the person this entire call, you saying something like that, this shit is all out the window, and now they're bucketing you the same way they bucketed every other sales person, and you're fucked. So how do I actually handle a spouse objection? So I'll walk you through a high level of it. I have tons of videos about shit like this. But first, we need to isolate the objection and make sure that they're good. So I'd be like, okay. And besides talking to your wife, or besides talking to your husband, how do you feel about everything? I feel okay. Okay, and is there anything that would keep you from feeling less than 100%? No, I'm good. Cool. So when it comes to talking to your husband, what's the key thing that you feel like you and him are gonna discuss, right? And then that's another area to find a potential objection, because what are you gonna get? Either she's gonna say the money, then you can have a money conversation, or she's gonna say, oh yeah, well, no, I wanna see what he thinks about this and this, or maybe looking at different options. Like, she may give you her objection without fucking knowing, right? Because if she says something very specific about the program, if it didn't come out the first time, it'll come out then, right? Or another way to ask that question is, okay, and what do you think his biggest concerns may be? Find the real objection. So anyway, assuming now she gives you money, then the shit's easy because you already know that she's on board, right? And you don't even need to do all this mental jujitsu yet. You already know that she's on board, and then she says the thing that they need to talk about is money. Okay, cool. And besides money though, like, you feel 100% good about everything. It's just running the finances by him. Yes, easy stuff. So is it a matter of like the entire investment at once, and you not wanting him to look at the account and see X amount missing? Yes. Okay, cool. And if we were able, hypothetically, to break that down into more digestible pieces, would that make it easier for you to go? Yeah, it would. Okay, well, we don't have like set payment plans. It's pretty custom depending on like what works for the person. But again, assuming we were able to find something that fits for you, like you'd be ready to take that step. And either they're gonna say yes, and then you're gonna talk about payment plans and then move forward, or another objection is gonna come up, which is fine. Now we can loop. Maybe she'll say something like, yeah, but I really want to talk to him. Then we can bring the shit up from earlier on, right? Okay, and I know a little earlier, like when we were talking about your husband, you said that he's kind of aware. Okay, no worries. And I know a little earlier we were talking about X, Y, and Z. Like, is your husband aware that you've been going through these things, right? Now, if you're learning from me, you would have already found out that the husband is aware or not. Okay, and I know a little earlier when we were talking about XYZ, I think you said that like your husband is aware of how you've been feeling. Okay, and how does he feel like seeing you that way? That's a different video for another day, right? But you want to hold off on using the things that you gathered earlier on in the conversation until it's 100% necessary, because you'd be surprised. A lot of times you go through what I just did, the deal will get closed much quicker if it's a genuine spouse objection. But something that is very true is there's two types of objections. There's an I want to do this, but I genuinely have this concern that I want you to help me overcome. Or there's a I actually don't want to do this, but I'm not gonna say that, so I'm just gonna give you some type of bullshit reason so that I could be able to get off this call. And if it's the second one, there's no amount of mental jujitsu that's gonna help you overcome that.
Is that fair? Okay. What's your email address? That way I can send you over everything to get your password logged up, and I'm gonna go ahead and onboard you in the next 15 minutes. What payment method you want to use? I just move straight through. I want you to understand, okay? Friction. It's what they expect. Remember this. People expect friction.
So the thing is, I actually agree with that, right? I agree that people expect friction, but I don't necessarily agree with the way he went about it is the way that you're going to reduce friction. If anything, I feel like that involves even more friction to do. And so I don't need to beat a dead horse here. I think my point's been made. I think the key thing to take away here is if you're going to follow the advice of someone like Andy, make sure that you are already like an aggressive, abrasive motherfucker. But if you're a laid back, chill dude like me, approaching it this way is probably not gonna work because they're gonna tell that you're not fully being yourself, for one. For two, people don't like to be backed into corners. And again, I think it's gonna be very clear, very obvious what you're trying to do, that you're trying to back them into a corner. And tactically, always get the person's approval first. Always get their yes first and make sure that they're on board before bringing their spouse into it, because none of it matters if they're not on board. So shout out to Andy Elliott. Again, if you want to stop having to piece together a bunch of strategies and a bunch of scripts and all this different shit that you learn from all these videos, you want to go from 3K a month to 30K a month like Chris did. You want to go from 2K a month to 20K a month like Julian. You want to go from 2K a month to 10K a month like Alex. And you too want to become a chill closer, just hit the link down below. I take on 5 additional new students every single month. So if that sounds like you, see if you qualify. If not, thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.